All right, all right. Welcome. This is the CSRN podcast and our video minutes. We come to you every Tuesday at 6 o'clock ish. All right, I add the ish or to it just because who we are. I'm Brother Washington Muhammad. I use the pronouns he, him. I'm one of the co-founders of CSRN along with Mike Leonardi and Jabril Bay. You can find them on Facebook. I think Mike's in Italy. I think Jabril is in Italy too, in its own special way. So hit them up, inbox them, and tell them that you really appreciate CSRN. It was their brainchild. They brought me in at the last minute to do some fine tuning on our first, our first event, which was dealt with police brutality, and then it grew from there to now. Jody, we're here. Today I have on my glasses from Optigo. If you can, inbox Kristen Moncrief. She drives the Twix in between optical bus. I think that's what she calls it. If not, Kristen,
Go.
Optio Go bus, right? Optio Go bus, and I knock on the door. She's usually at Swainfield, posted up. Man,
Pop-up shop. She shops up at.
Yeah, man, get you some.
Sonia's Garden. She comes.
Right.
She speaks there.
Right. Get some glasses from her. These were very stylish. All right. And let's see what else. I have my Buy Black Best Buy type shirt on, and I thank my brother Maurice Wormley for making this shirt for me, delivering it at a nominal price. Hit him up on Facebook too, Maurice Wormley. Just Another Shirt Company. That's the name of his company. And man, people are doing some excellent things. And as always, I'm dedicated to respect, protect, and defend all Black bodies, no matter the cost, no matter the gains or loss. And this is the home of Black Lives Matter, Toledo, and justice, or else we get it in, we get it popping, we get the spark going on to keep the protest culture and activist culture alive and well. Man, that was kind of had a little intro today, all right?
So you had a little flow there.
Yeah, had a little intro today. So I want to bring Jody, if you can, let me bring you on in. Who are you? What do you have on? And man, I think you got the mission statement.
So what's up, everybody? Jody J. Summers, child of the system, better known as Spoken Truth. I am the treasurer of this wonderful organization. I am a brown skin tone, cinnamon tone bearer man that is covered in tattoos and crystals. And I actually got a Fitbit on because shout out to my job. They gave us a challenge to do 1 million steps and had like 4 protests and march and stuff. So that's the problem. I don't look to win it, but at least I get something and a free Fitbit, which when I'm done with it, because as you can see, it's kind of like all the way down here. It's going to my sister. So she still gets something. The shirt that I'm wearing is the Unapologetically Black Nutritional Facts. You can't see it. This is why I don't wear people's t-shirts and stuff. I'll make a donation, maybe get a hat, because I got to mention something too. You still haven't noticed the throwback. So for everybody that's watching this hat here, yeah, I left my other hat at work, which I'll be picking up tomorrow. But we're going to throwback hat, and my pronouns are him, he, and we. What you see, we'll be talking about here in a couple of minutes about the book bags while that middle chair is occupied. But it's getting into the day. Also, I want to thank everybody that is out right now doing pop-up shows, vendor events, that's doing mental health care, that's writing books, creating art. All of the people that is out there trying to inspire and not put any more negativity into the world. We have enough of that. Yesterday was the year anniversary of a day we didn't really think was going to turn out that way. And it's been a traumatic experience for all of us. But again, that is activism, what we spoke about in our last week's show. It may look nice on the newspapers, on a live feed, but it takes a toll on you, spiritually, physically, and mentally. So if you do decide to get in this, just know that you play some part, and you don't always have to be around. You don't always have to be at every meeting, every march, every funeral, candle vigil, everything like that, as long as you are doing more than just telling people what they should do with their time and their organization, you're helping. So, speaking of organizations, here's how we start every meeting, because we want, for when we do, which I think, Matt's coming off and stuff, he's one of his anyway. But all that stuff, we'll get back to doing our live in-person meetings, because the podcast came apart as us evolving and adapting to the times, which is something you have to do. You can't just keep doing the same thing, laying down in the street and expect results from, never mind. Anyway, this is our mission statement. We are the Community Solidarity Response Network of Toledo, formed on November 25th, 2014, the day after it was announced that the killer, a Ferguson, Missouri police officer of Michael Brown, an unarmed teenager, would not be indicted. We bring awareness to the fact that injustices experienced by Black men, women, and children who are disproportionately murdered, attacked, provoked, harassed by law enforcement. Police brutality has to end. We bring awareness to the fact that most often, yes, most often, not always, police brutality goes without consequence or accountability. Police impunity has to end. We utilize the tactics of civil disobedience, event disruption, and citizen advocacy to give voice, yes, voice, to those who are otherwise voiceless. We facilitate progressive, community-based help foster self-development, and we discuss measures to hold local leadership accountable, yes, accountable to their sworn duties, be they politician, clergy, law enforcement, educators, etc., etc. We want justice, equal justice under the law. We want justice applied equally to all, yes, all, regardless of class, creed, or color, for all lives to matter. Black lives, yes, Black lives must matter. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
All right, thank you, Jody. I'm going to go ahead and read the guiding principles. And man, since we formed in 2014, we got an opportunity to attend the Movement of Black Lives, which is where we gleaned our CSRN guiding principles. And this keeps everyone, along with our mission statement, it keeps everyone on the same page. It keeps us as healthy as we can without imploding. This is our guiding principles. All Black lives matter. Queer Black lives, trans Black lives, formerly and presently incarcerated Black lives, poor working class Black lives, differently abled Black lives, Black men and women lives, immigrant Black lives, Black elderly and children lives. All Black lives matter, and our creators of this space, we throw no one under the bus, we rise together. Ashe?
Ashe.
And Ashe means one who changes a thing or one who makes a thing happen. Thriving instead of surviving. Our vision is based on the world we want, not the one we're currently in. We seek to transform, not simply react. We want our people to thrive, not just exist, think beyond the possible. Ashe?
Ashe.
Experimentation and innovation must be built into our work. Embrace the best tools, practices, and tactics, and leave those behind that no longer serve us. Ashe?
Ashe.
Evaluation and assessment must be built into our work. Embrace the best tools, practices, and tactics, and leave those behind that no longer serve us. Ashe?
Ashe.
Evaluation and assessment must be built into our culture. Critical reflection must be a part of all of our work. We learn from our mistakes and our victories. Ashe?
Ashe.
Principled struggle can exist in a positive environment. We must be honest with one another by embracing direct, loving communication. Ashe?
Ashe.
Love, self-love is practiced in every element of all we do. Love and self-love must be a driver of our work and an indicator of our success. Without this principle, And without healing, we will harm each other and undermine our movement. Ashe?
Ashe.
360-degree vision. We honor past struggles and wisdom from elders. The work we do today builds the foundations of movements of tomorrow. We consider our mark on future generations. Ashe?
Ashe.
Self-care means we build resilient spaces by budgeting time, energy, and resources for healing. Self-care is a regular, consistent, intentional, and essential practice. Ashe?
Ashe.
The most directly affected people are experts at their own lives and should be in leadership at the center of our movement and telling their stories directly. Ashe?
Ashe.
Training and leadership development should be fundamental. Our movement must constantly grow and leadership must constantly multiply. Ashe?
Ashe.
Hey, listen, Jody, I know we've got our book bags here. Right before our break, you brought these in. Where do they come from? Who do they go to? And what is this all about?
All righty. So for the people that have been following us, I'm trying to respond to people. For the people that have been following us over the years, we aren't just a protest organization or marching or demonstrating or holding community forums or giving out scholarships or movie awards.
That's a lot. Okay.
We don't just give out Black Lives Matter awards. We don't just kind of pump ourselves up in the community.
Mm-hmm.
We also give back. So what was it? 2018, I believe it was, and we got a city resolution for it.
Mm-hmm.
We held our first Juneteenth celebration because we had already had the Black Lives Matter Day.
Yeah.
And we wanted to keep this going. When I was younger, the art museum, or not the art museum, is it the art museum? I believe it is the art museum. They used to do one kind of similar and stuff like that, but nobody had done one for years. There were little pop-up things, but nobody had tried to bring the whole city together. So we did. We held a vendor fair and vendors came out, food trucks, all this good stuff. And then the next year, because again, we're not the gatekeepers of anything. If we're not able to do something and we see an organization that's already got the foundation set up, they're already posting about it, guess what? We're going to show up. So,
that's right.
Well, not last year, because last year was kind of forgotten by a whole bunch of things, but it started something.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a Juneteenth celebration at Walbridge, which we kind of like took over that entire park space. But before that, we joined up with
Frederick Douglass
Center.
And Alexia Sims.
Alexia Sims and the Toledo Orchestra and some other organizations, I believe, have the Human Rights Commission and relations and stuff. There are a couple of members there that were just about to get into boards and stuff like that. So they came and that was the first part of the day. We'll be doing that again this year. It's a march from Swainfield Plaza. We mentioned that place a lot, you know. Going to the Frederick Douglass Center, and they'll have kind of the same setup. You contact
Alexia Sims
for vendor information and stuff like that. But if you want to get back to your community, you can't just get on Facebook and post stuff. Look what I'm doing, giving bags to homeless people. Never mind. That's another whole subject and stuff. But they asked organizations that wanted to be a part of it this year to donate 5 foot bags, 5 book bags filled with art supplies. So us being the organization we are, me being the treasurer who holds on to the bank card and all that good stuff, made us sure that we were accountable.
That's right.
The other day I went out, did some shopping, got 5 awesome different kinds of books here. You'll see them more towards the end of the video. Julie will pop in later on. He'll be holding probably the buzz off.
Because you know he all right.
Yeah, but in these book bags is, again, it's been a while since I've been to school, but I've done 12 since 2018 book bag things out of my own pocket. I normally go and pick up stuff and everything like that. So what I did, there's paper, there's pens, there's erasers, calculators, scissors, highlighters, notebooks, rulers, some glue sticks, a whole bunch of stuff to make sure that kids, hopefully they still use these things. I know everybody got their phones and stuff now, but hopefully they still use these things and to be appreciated by the kids who parents won't have to take on that burden simply for that. It's very difficult living in the world we do right now, and anything an organization can do to ease that without having a tax write-off, I appreciate that.
All right. Before we take a quick break and come back, because also we want to hear from Julian, who he is, and we've got some 1 year reflections that we're going to do, Jody, and that'd be good to get him on in here. But
I want to say too, there's also, again, like I mentioned, the wall bridge, that one is going on as well. That one is at 936 Front Street. So contact the Juneteenth celebration. There's a group page on Facebook. Go in there. If there's still vendor spots, maybe not, but still come to both of them. They're both all day long. I believe it's like from noon until 8 p.m. between both of them.
Downtown Grim at the Glass Pavilion with Juneteenth, the Juneteenth celebration. They're hosting Juneteenth this year from 12 to 8. Alexia Sims, CSRN, Frederick Douglass will be at the Doug from 1 to 4.
Yep.
All right, starting at the at Swain Field, but you can drop through anytime. There's over 80,000 Black people in Toledo.
Yeah.
Surely we need more Juneteenth celebrations. All right,
we can have one at every town and every park, and still not get a chance to
absolutely,
have everybody.
Absolutely. So come on out. You can hit up Alexia Sims. Find out if you want to vend. You can hit up Juneteenth celebration. They're on Facebook. If you can't catch up with them, inbox Shannon, Miss Lady. She responds to all of the inboxes. So make sure you contact them so that we can have an excellent Juneteenth. And we're going to continue doing this. And the last thing on Juneteenth, I don't know if you realize this, Jody, but there's a lady named Mother Diane Gordon. Yes, she founded Kwanzaa in Toledo. And also she was very much a staple on Juneteenth when they would just have Juneteenth in the parking lot of Missionary Baptist Church. This was in the late 90s when everyone complained about Juneteenth, that it wasn't a real holiday. Why should I celebrate Juneteenth? You know what? Everybody speaks as a child when they're a child,
Yep.
And now we're growing up. So, hey, listen, stay tuned. We're going to come back. This is CSRN, our weekly Video Minutes podcast.
Hey, I'm Dr. P. Not only am I a leadership coach, I'm a change agent, and I'm a race scholar. I've used my study of race to dismantle systems and organizations, but I also use that to help you as the individual become a better leader for your families and for your community.
Did you know addiction is a disease, not a moral dilemma? The opioid epidemic and substance use have a major impact on communities of color and many people's lives. Wasion Wellness Recovery Support Center offers culturally relevant inpatient and outpatient behavioral health treatment and recovery support services to any Ohioan struggling with addiction, mental health, or finding sober, safe housing. We must recognize that treatment is available and accessible to all. If you are in need of treatment or want to find out more information, you can call 1-888-728-2713 to talk to someone or schedule an appointment.
All right, we are back. Man, that was a nice little break there, all right? I'm Brother Washington, him, co-founder CSRN. When we left our break, we talked about Juneteenth at Frederick Douglass, Juneteenth at the Glass Pavilion downtown on the water. I want to hit that one up too. Well, we've got Julian, who serves as our spokesperson, who gets all the heat for whatever we want him to say. And that's a good arrangement, all right? We say, hey, say this, and they upset with you. We're like, hey, I don't know. So, Julie, could you introduce yourself, Who are you? What do you have on? All right.
My name is Julian Mack. Pronouns he, him. I'm wearing a shirt commemorating, Moses Fleetwood Walker, who's the first professional black baseball player. Many people get the mistake that it was Jackie Robinson, but actually right here in Toledo in, I believe, 1883, Moses Fleetwood Walker became the first black man to integrate the major leagues for the Toledo Blue Stockings. A little piece of history there. He was a bad boy too. He was a catcher. He didn't wear a mitt. That's a bad boy, man. That's a bad man. That's a bad man. And I actually really look up. He was a Pan-Africanist, right? So in a lot of ways, he was ahead of his time. And he actually was. 3 white men tried to murder him in the 19 teens. Is that what you call it? And he defended himself, and he was put on trial. And he actually successfully defended himself of a murder charge and defended his life against white supremacy in the early 1900s. So commemorate and shouts out to Moses Fleetwood Walker. We stand on the shoulders of giants, and he is definitely a giant whose shoulders we stand on today.
All right. Now, at CSRN, we talked about Jody as a treasurer. I drive the short bus, all right, to make sure both of you guys get here.
Yeah.
What do you do? All right. What is your function, and how does that function as a spokesperson? How does that impact you?
Well, in a lot of ways, I act as a liaison. I think we all do this to a degree. At times, we're all spokespeople. At times, we all, in some capacity, kind of serve as a treasurer, get the money to Jody or Ruth. We're kind of interchangeable with our titles. We're one and pick one up at any given time. But as a spokesperson, oftentimes I am put in the limelight and try to bring the issues to the people and make them digestible for everybody to simply understand. All right. A lot of times we deal with complicated issues, and we've never seen a world without these issues existing. Right? We've never seen a world without the police, but it's existed.
Wow, that's true.
It's existed though.
Wow,
for most of humanity. Only recently, the past 200 years, have the police existed. So when we talk about these issues, when we talk about revolutionary ideas or even reformatory ideas, I try to package them in a digestible way that's easy for the mass public to digest. So that's essentially what I do.
All right. We had a couple of questions that we were talking about earlier. Sunday was May 30th.
Yeah.
All right. 1 year since the Toledo Police Accountability March and Rally.
Yeah.
And there were 3 questions that, we were juggling around. One of them was, what were your thoughts coming downtown? Because that's a perspective of this too. Mm-hmm. That you were coming to a volatile place.
You mean last year?
Last year. Yeah. What were your thoughts? What was going through your mind? I know what was going through my mind last year, because I was there to set up the equipment. You were there to not only to speak your truth, but also shed some light on transparency and accountability of the Toledo Police Department. What's your process when you're on your way to a protest or a function?
Yeah, so 2 things that I think may get forgotten about, right? In the process of reflecting back on last year was there was a meeting that the mayor called the day before with quote unquote black leaders.
Yeah.
Where the events would be, where they tried to, I guess, collaborate and maybe get us a bit to capitulate.
Say we won't come.
Yeah, to the style and the tone that the city would much rather prefer. as opposed to what the masses of the people wanted. And, we made our demands pretty clear in meeting format, right? That we wanted a civilian review board with subpoena power, that we wanted to ban the chokehold, that we wanted more clear, we wanted the barriers removed for accountability in regards to the police union contracts and erasing misconduct from the records within 2 to 5 years. We made those issues clear the day before in a meeting with the mayor and other dignified people in the Black community to the Kapsakevich administration. So there was, fresh in everybody's mind was the police station that burned in Minneapolis, right? And so we finally, after years, had the ear and the attention of those in power who have the ability to change things, right? Listen, we have been doing this for quite some time. We had been ignored, but we finally had their attention at that point in time. So while they were attempting to get us to tone down the rhetoric, we really weren't having it, right? It was a time where we knew we wanted everybody to speak and for the voices and the pain and the hurt to be felt and heard. I think we also forget that earlier that day at around noon, the day started at noon, right? The first protest started at noon on Central Avenue. And, it was a very, I think it was kind of kicked off by some allies, right? And it was in an area where a great deal of commerce occurs. I think on Central and Secor. Right. I think there's a Chase Bank over there. Right. I know there's a Krispy Kreme. There's a Chick-fil-A. There's a lot of folks spending money in that area. All right. And so I distinctly remember arriving there and parking my car, Ruth's car, but my car, Ruth's car in the middle of Central Avenue. And they knew we were there then, right? And that I remember the passion. I'll never forget pulling up there and seeing how many people there were. And so after that, I think I left that a little bit early so we could start setting up downtown. And I mean, it was just, it was one of those days for me where I just tried to stay in the moment. I realized it was a historic time and a historic day. And sometimes you can't overthink things. You just have to be present. Right. And so I did my best to just be present in the moment and feel. Sometimes it's a challenge when there's this term, give voice to those who are voiceless. Well, when you have 1,000 people out there, the voice is pretty strong. Right. And you don't, and people can hear, I could hear, and people can hear the people's voices. And so I remember really trying to center myself. I remember being humbled at the amount of people that were out there. And I remember thinking to myself, it's very important that I speak truth to power that day, right? That I make sure I don't tone it down. This isn't a TV interview. We need to give it to them raw and uncut. Right. Right. And so and we did. Yeah. And so I remember right before I spoke, I think there was a former military officer that recited some kind of officer's pledge, and what he was doing was pointing out the hypocrisy. Exactly, the hypocrisy. That's the word that officers take and how they don't really uphold that. Well, the crowd, full of emotion, was not having it,
Right.
and did not want to hear an officer's oath. We thank him for his participation.
And that was Matt McCluster.
Yeah,
a good friend.
His sign.
Right, a good friend and a great supporter of CSRN.
Yeah, and he's good people, and and I remember right before I spoke, Brother Washington, you said something about we were going to disperse, and you said that. I remember that.
Right.
And that was clear. And I remember the crowd as I went up to take the mic was screaming, "Hell no, we won't go. Hell no, we won't go." And I remember I took that mic. I looked back at Jody, and I looked back at Brother Washington, and I thought to myself, "Hey, I love y'all, but I'm on this side."
All right.
I'm not getting on the opposite side of that, right? And so I started to cheer along with them and try to amplify what I was really doing was just trying to amplify their voice and their feeling at that time, which I think I like to think I adequately did. But it was a powerful day. It was a powerful day, and I gave that my all.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And we don't always get opportunities where everyone is listening.
Mm-hmm.
And we got an opportunity where everyone, the entire city and beyond, were listening. And, some of those demands were met. The elimination of the chokehold has happened here in Toledo by TPD. They moved the Office of Complaints from the safety building or Toledo Police Station over to the One Government Center. All right. But as far as structural change and any shift of power from police or elected officials to the community, that's yet to occur. That is yet to occur. And what we would soon see was the way that police officers behave at the police accountability rally would demonstrate exactly how much of a lack of accountability and the problems that exist
Right.
with the Toledo Police Department. And so I had the opportunity. Not everything we do is we do a lot of things, and I can be a very loud, upfront, and in your face person, but not everything we do is loud and upfront and in your face. I had the opportunity this Sunday to walk the route that the majority of people marched after kind of the initial speeches or the initial rally,
Mm-hmm.
I guess we'll say. And we talk a lot about mental health, right? And trauma occurred that day
Mm-hmm.
for the masses of the people in our community, right? Not just protesters, but reporters were maced
Right.
and hurt. Medics, kids were shot, with quote unquote rubber bullets and things like that. The one thing that a lot of people don't, which even in war, you don't shoot medics. The Toledo police shot medics that day, right? So there was gross misconduct, and so what we had the opportunity to do is kind of rewalk that path, reflect, and instead of our last memory being that trauma, to intentionally reset a different memory in our minds, right? One that has a more positive spin as opposed to a negative spin. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. We're gonna come back. We've got Anika Fields in the studio.
Okay.
I see you, Anika, and we're gonna bring her on to the break. But also wanted to talk to Jody about that day.
Mm-hmm.
So on that, I'll go, Anika, I know you can kind of hear us. Would you mind going next so we get that, different energy and see how that feels?
All right. Well, let me bring up Anika right now. Yeah, I don't see her texting me. So,
That.
right. Okay. So for Anika, we're talking about the year in review. First, how you doing?
I'm doing super. Hello, everybody.
Hello, hello. And listen, we're talking about the year in review from May 30th last year to today. And Julian just talked about that there's still work that needs to be done.
Great.
And we've been involved
Yes.
in what's going on in Swanton for the last 2 years or so, and there's still a fight going on. Do you mind talking about the fight that we have going on in Swanton, and what can everybody do to help and assist?
Okay, sure. Let me give my gender pronouns for those who may not be able to see us here today. So my gender pronouns are she, her. And you guys got to see this shirt, those of you who can. I'm wearing a shirt that says, "No Karen formed against me shall prosper."
That's what's up.
I love that shirt. Yes, and it's white. I'm a dark complexion. And I'm happy to be with you guys today. So I'm outside kind of enjoying my little one in the weather and everything, but really grateful to be able to have an opportunity on to speak to you guys tonight. But yeah, it's been a long year, and it's been a long few years in Swanton, Ohio here. So without going into a very long history, trying to sum it up as quickly as possible, my family, as well as other African American and other ethnic minorities in the Swanton area, in my neighborhood in general, have been experiencing a lot of ethnic intimidation, racial harassment, and even discrimination with the Swanton police officers. Here recently, there was another African American family, which are very few. There's maybe 3 or 4 in the neighborhood, but who was violently pursued and attacked by a white woman, and this African American female with intellectual disabilities was the one charged for assault. And so CSRN, a lot of our allies, as well as New Order National Human Rights Organization, have been working with my family in particular and some of the other families in this community to bring awareness and attention to the issue in this area. And the reason that's important is because this is a human rights issue. Anyone should be able to live where they choose to live. And a lot of the reasons that people of color or African Americans come to this community is the same as other people when they select the communities they live in. Affordable housing, right. Areas which are conducive to their family needs. And right. We have a lot of Karens, we'll call them, or white females, who really believe that they had the God-given authority to control and patrol Black and brown bodies. And if you don't submit to them, they commit crimes. I've had experiences where crimes have been committed against my family, from vandalism to just menacing, ethnic intimidation, so on and so forth. But if you don't submit to what their illusion of superiority is, they make it very difficult. And the problem is, you would think that you can just pick up the phone and call the police when you right. have being committed, but it doesn't work that way here in Swanton for a lot of people of color and a lot of other ethnic minorities as well. Swanton is known as one of those towns I now know where there exists this invisible barrier where you hear people say they don't even want to drive through Swanton after a certain time at night because of the issues with the police, targeting, harassment, so on and so forth. But again, in calling the police and asking for help and asking for them to do the job they're being paid to do as public servants, they tend to side with the Karen despite evidence. And I'm talking video evidence. I'm talking about other witnesses. They do everything they can to disrespect, disregard, and discredit people of color, and with an emphasis on African-American women. June 10th, I wanted to announce that myself, in collaboration with ABLE and Toledo Fair Housing, I've had some discussion with CSRN as well, but I don't want to throw you guys under the bus. And then I've had some discussion with New Order as well, which I would absolutely like you guys to be involved in it, where we're going to be holding a Zoom meeting, 6 to 8 p.m., Thursday, June 10th. And it is going to be for people of color, Black folks, and other ethnic minorities who have experienced discriminatory action specifically related to SWAT police. That could be targeting while you're driving through. That could be harassment. That could be selective enforcement, being, whites are treated differently than African Americans in responding when police are responding to calls. So what we're attempting to do is to gather people's experiences and their issues and concerns with SWAT and police so that we can compile some data. And I know ABLE is interested in this to see about the possibility of moving forward with some sort of action. And I know there's a lot of people of color. There's a lot who've moved out of this community. And there's a lot who've had experiences here, not necessarily being residents, but it's critical for you to come forward, because if we allow these things to happen here, if we allow our Black women to continue to be disregarded, disrespected, discredited, and not protected, this behavior will become a model that will be reciprocated all around our country. So we have to pay attention. Swanton is a small town, but we need to pay attention, because if they're successful with their tactics, which they have been in pushing African Americans out of this community, it'll do nothing but replicate itself over and over and over. So that is why it is important. One of the things that we can do, the last question you asked, Brother Washington, one of the things that you guys can do to help is to speak up. Please contact me. I'll see if I can post my phone number on here, but 567-315-3131 is a direct way to reach me. And also send me your email address so I can forward a link for the Zoom meeting, and I will try to get I will try to get this posted on here soon as well. My email address is Mrs. MRS Field, FIELDS 218 at gmail.com. Again, that's Mrs. Fields 218 at gmail.com. And what I would be able to do is to just connect to you and try to patch you through the resource that may be helpful to you if you've had this experience, or share your story and experience in a way to where we can impact some meaningful change. And, it's important to show up. It's important to demonstrate. It's important to, contact this mayor and say, get this chief of police out of here. He's demonstrated that his level of cultural destructiveness is not to where anything is going to change. He's charged with protecting and serving and initiating charges against people who commit crimes. However, he does everything he can to deny that the issue has nothing to do with race, despite witnessing white people yell racial slurs toward Black people in this neighborhood, despite seeing an attack on video, despite many other things. Change has got to happen before we can get to a better point, because we come too far for the fluff and no action. That's
right. Now I know that what we can do, and Julian and Jody jump in if you like. What we can do, we can with your permission, Anika, we could create a flyer and post on our page and share to all of our members if they know someone that wants to be involved, or if they want to be involved, they can give you a call. They can email you, because June 10th is coming up very soon. And we want to have everybody that we can that's interested in this, or may know people that have lived there. I drive through Swanton often because I gotta my way to work is on the way there. That they can give you a call or email. And we've got a lot of people that watch this podcast, a lot of people that view it, a lot of people that follow our pages, either our personal pages or some of our organization pages.
Yeah,
so
we got the YouTube and the Spotify, they're getting up there.
Right. So I think that's one of the things that we can do. And we can even designate one of us to be on the call too.
That would be absolutely fantastic. This information kind of came about like late last night, that was a go for the attorneys. That was difficult to coordinate the schedules of attorneys from the different organizations. So yeah, I'll follow up with you guys after the meeting and everything. But I just want to thank CSRN again, because without them, we wouldn't even be this far. I mean, there was a small step, but it was a step nonetheless, in that somebody was convicted of a crime toward our family. It wasn't the most desired, but it was a step. And that means that the effort that CSRN entered and put into it, and the advocacy, and I mean, even the support, I mean, the camaraderie, the friendship, each of you were available to me at points where, when I needed to pick up the phone, or if I was it was particularly too much going on, just that human component was absolutely fantastic. So I'm trying my best to make sure I'm offering that to the other family who's having issues, because they're having a lot of issues too. They got some court dates coming up regarding this assault and everything, but alleged assault, I should say, because it wasn't an assault at all. But yeah, I would definitely appreciate that. And I definitely am in this for the long haul, because of the fact that I can't look at my son and know that I just gave up, when I have vivid memories or just pictures in my mind of him, waking up with the night terror because he thought somebody was going to hurt me, somebody from this neighborhood, because of their just brazen, volatile and aggressive behaviors. So for him, for my daughters, and for every other Black and brown people, God gave me a voice to speak up, and God has also aligned my path with so many warriors to help this battle. So I appreciate you guys, and I know change is coming. We just don't see it on this side of the spiritual battle.
Right. I do want to say also, we saw each other last week, and I won't give no spoilers or anything, but I am very proud in the steps that you are taking moving forward. Just that little bit at the beginning where, again, we are our own voices and messages. We don't have to have an organization or a contract for people to reach us. So by putting your number out there, letting people be able to contact you, not just as some part of organization, but as you, to speak to you, that's one of the very bravest steps into the next journey that you're taking. I'll wait till you are comfortable with deciding to release that information, but I am very proud.
Brother Washington, I don't think I've had a chance to talk to Julian, and Jody knows, but Julian, I'll hit you up. Okay, it's very exciting, and I'm excited to be able to announce it here very soon with everybody.
Okay, all right. Well, look, Jody, you want to take a short break and come back?
Take a short break, come back, but I also do want to give a shout out to, again, social media names, but Boo Nanny Morgan, who mentioned something which is still very prevalent. Last night, I started to watch the series Them. Me and my sister got through the first 6 episodes. So I plan on finishing that series, but what they mentioned about what Swanton pretty much is too, just a little bit on the lighter side, they're sweet and low instead of sugar, is a sundown time. So they're doing all the other outside steps to make sure if you see them in public, they look great, but when the lights go out, I have to call.
Yeah, yeah, and we're prepared here for if anything would have to take place. I had to get to a place where we had some things prepared to protect ourselves because this is a big deal here. This is a big deal. This chief is not really happy and making a lot of derogatory, intimidating statements, and just his behaviors and actions are so unprofessional that if it would have been one of us, he would have been fired already.
That's right.
In my opinion. Yeah.
That's right. You're right.
So,
You're right.
yes.
All right, well, Anika, we're going to take a short break. If you got to go, we'll keep you in the studio if you can hang out, because we're going to talk about some of the things that we need to know coming up in the news. And also, we're going to hear about Jody. What was he thinking on his way downtown June 30th, 2020? And really, what was he doing this year? I really want to listen. I really want to check that out. So listen, everybody, stay tuned. This is the CSRN Video Minutes, our weekly podcast. We'll be right back. We are back, CSRN Video Minutes. We just got finished talking with Anika, and what's going down in Swanton, and we're going to continue to support her and show up regarding the police in Swanton and some of the Karens, as they're so rightfully called, all right, on her block. Also, we talked about 1 year reflection of May 30th, and myself, Ruth, Julian, Jody, and a few others were key to creating that platform that people were able to really say what they needed to say last year. And I wanted to ask Jody, what were your thoughts on the way? Because you've been to a protest before, you've been to a lot of our activities. I don't know what you do to get yourself ready, all right? But what were your thoughts downtown, on your way? What were your thoughts about the crowd, Jody? And what did you do this year?
So for people that don't know, one of the things the reason why I'm able to recite poetry and read books or write books and all of this other stuff, I have a photographic memory. So for me, smells, taste, touch, sounds, a picture can bring me back to that very moment of everything. And I get to incorporate that in my artwork, my books, my performances, my community service. That particular day, I had just gotten off of work. And because I work downtown, I always try and centralize myself downtown, not only for the historical aspect, but it makes sure that my dollars from Toledo stay in Toledo. Now I have to venture off or wander off to get something else done. But I remember clearly walking up Erie Street and seeing you out there and a few people who were out there, and we had all of our signs in the yard.
Oh, yeah.
So, and then as we were putting down the last couple, I remember the police officers coming over to us before they started gearing up and telling us we can't do that. So we all collectively took a photo, because I think you guys were out there for about a half an hour setting everything up. I came, start setting stuff up, putting the stick down, face mask. I think I had a scarf. Yeah, I had neon green scarf at that time. It was also one of the first protests that I wore, which you guys kind of see in all the photos now of that jacket with the fist on it. And there's some awesome profile pictures and stuff of that. But for me, it's about the same when I go to any protest or demonstration or organization. I am always on guard. I'm the treasurer in a sense, but I do a whole bunch of other stuff. And before my public work, I did a lot of work behind the scenes. So working with this whole year of masks and stuff is comfortable for me, and I'll continue to wear them to protest and organizations because in certain situations you don't need to see my face. I am very, very highly protected of myself and my friends. So when I'm at things, my first job is to look at the buildings and search for snipers, and to see where I can best position myself in a situation so we don't have another Martin or Malcolm or somebody, even though that may be something small in the back of my mind is a precautionary tactic. As I saw more people coming through the day, it was very surreal because we had watched the other cities from the time that George Floyd was murdered until this day go through the same thing. And I was thinking, this is TPD, they ain't gonna do that. I opened the performance for everybody to speak. And I remember that very much because my manager, who had seen me perform at other stuff and open mics, she said I gave her tingles because that was one of the first times where silent face in the crowd was left because I wasn't doing it for an open mic or slam or a community event. I was speaking to the people who actually are feet on the ground. Cracked my voice that day, but I remember distinctly after performing, and I believe it was after Matt. He started speaking that because we had Ruth close. You went before Ruth, Julian did, and then Ruth closed to try and, bundle that energy of we won't go away into this is where you can go. We always tell at the end of our demonstrations or stuff, other organizations, things you could do, things you could support. We did not plan on a march, but because we're the facilitators, and also it brings me back into thinking of the whole thing that happened at the Capitol, we still stuck around. Julian, I know, and Ruth got hit with some stuff. It was surreal to think that after the day before, when the news was talking about what the police were going to do and how we're going to be safe, and we were already aware that every other city that decided to march with nothing but signs in our hands, a few words for accountability, justice, there might be some trouble. But again, it never occurred in the back of my mind that, and I actually have turned this 1 year experience from the 20th on my page into a photo album. You can look at it 1 year back. So everything that I thought in the moment, the day after, and I'll probably continue for a couple of weeks because there was a lot that I had to decompress about. But one kind of, I guess, quote that I could take for myself is weird, but we came with signs, children, men, women, people of all color, with nothing but signs and words to fight injustice, to bring accountability, to find out why our protection force was not defending us like we paid them to, and you shot at us. You shot men, women, children. You pushed elderly people to the ground. Maybe not with lethal weapons, but with rubber bullets, wooden bullets that took chunks out of children's legs. And we were supposed to be okay with that. We did not riot or burn buildings here in Toledo, and I'm very proud of that. There was some stuff, but as we noticed too, that was a big thing. BLM as an organization and BLM as grassroots movements work very differently. So when people come into our community, our town, we can spot them out immediately. We noticed the people who were aggressive, who probably were not from here at all, whether they threw water bottles or did something else. And you can always tell those people that aren't there to deal with the damage afterwards.
That's right.
That's kind of what we've been doing for the past year. It's dealing with the damage afterwards because it brought out a lot of people, but it also turned people completely off and numb. Like there's really nothing we can do. So the weeks following, I guess 1 year later, were great because we had marches in areas we didn't go to before. We created a lot of people. And for me, again, it's still my piece, pandemical revolution through the eyes of the woke, which is everything that happened in 2020 from March until October, including Proud Boys, the fake virus, Karen's Against All, Look at My Views, the emergence of Zoom, which we were talking about, which we hadn't even heard before. I mean, I never used, what was that, Skype or some other stuff, but Zoom just popped out of nowhere after that date to where people didn't feel, we were starting to feel safe about being out because this was also, summertime. We still were wearing masks and people were, there was no vaccine at this time. So it was just, kind of congregate and stuff and be safe.
Yeah.
But it was still very scary because we had no idea what was going on. We had a daily death toll, which I don't know what happened. I don't watch TV now, but even when I cross screens, I don't see it, of thousands of people dying every day from unknown causes. And now we had the police who didn't wear masks, who didn't care, who didn't at the time have cards. I think that's one of the things that came out of this, where they supposedly have to stop being an officer and be a human and let you know who they are. That's small steps.
Okay.
But even now, bringing it forward to 1 year later.
What did you do? What did you do this
Well,
year? Where were you studying? All right. That's a
not
good
much has
question.
changed. I do a lot in my personal life, my organizational life, but I don't hide anything. So yesterday I was at a rave, a thing called Foamcella. You know what EDM, electronic dance music is? It's also the reason why my artwork dances and displays differently under, those little laser lights or LED lights. But I was at a rave and just kind of clearing my mind. It was actually a foam party, so bubbles. You see that on my page too. But I ran into Victor Dell and Saret. Did I say that right?
Saret.
Right.
Okay.
Victor Dell Jr.
Victor Dell Jr. and Saret. And it was awesome. They were happy. They were having fun. I drove them into bubbles or told them to go into bubbles a couple of times because things happen. You can't change the past. At least you can live for tomorrow. Remember it. Never forget it. Just like why, again, I'm watching the series Them. Even though I know about all this, my sister it affected a little bit differently. But since I left high school, that's all I've been doing. I've been like a sponge for knowledge. So Black Wall Street, Tulsa, which people are still, it just amazes me. Juneteenth in Tulsa and the incidents that happened in New Jersey and everything that, yes, it's traumatic. Yes, I don't want to have to remember that part of my history, but I need to because they're kind of coming back. The tactics, just a little bit more icing, put a little bit more sugar in. But
that's true.
We thank our politicians and governments for murder. Memorial Day, for instance, is literally the celebration that we should never ever really have to celebrate. Sending women, men, and children, well, not children, but you know what I mean, soldiers off to fight a war, which is we are perpetually in some type of war. And we get to celebrate some way by being with our families that we have because of their sacrifice. A lot of things now are because of the sacrifice of the people who 7 years ago, and I see some glimpses of news. I don't care who started the foundation and how much money they got, and they left the organization. The organization is that. The movement is something else. The movement, if you've been lucky enough to have the mental fortitude to stay in this fight for 7 years, for a year, for 2 weeks, for more than one march, I applaud you.
That's right.
Because it's difficult. And if we're not here, they're just going to keep pressing that boot heel down tighter.
All right. Okay. All right. Hey, look, I wanted to ask Julian a couple of questions, and let's bring Anika back in. Anika, we're talking about the year in review. And before we get to talking about some other subjects, you had a couple of things that you missed regarding last year and what did you do this year?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, go ahead, Anika.
So the year in review last year. Well, as a mom, it was a tough it was a tough year last year because not only considering the isolation due to the COVID pandemic, but the cultural isolation as well in the neighborhood, for speaking up, for having a little too much melanin for folks in the neighborhood, was really a lot to deal with. But the George Floyd murder, it really impacted me a lot. I really had to reach out to some friends, and I also had to reach out to a professional to help me to be able to get through that, which I don't mind sharing because mental health is really important. And it just, after a while, it got to me. And I'm an introvert by nature, so when I start wanting to be around people, something's going on. So it just was a pretty challenging time seeing what was going on in the community. Not being able to get out in the way that I wanted to get out, and also having to be hunkered down here with, fear and concern about what's going on or what may happen in the community in which I reside. So I got to do some behind the scenes things to volunteer for a couple organizations, for a couple social justice organizations, and try to keep abreast, help out where I can. But also just, it brought me to a point where I had to learn how to take a break as well, how to step back. So fast forward, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, we do see a little bit of progress with the protests and the involvement with media and organizations speaking up here in Swanton, but we're nowhere near where we need to be, and it's only going to get more dangerous if we don't keep up the momentum. So just taking an opportunity, taking the time to share my experience, encourage others to share their experience is what I've been focusing on, and evaluating next steps, because this is not a nice game. This is not a nice situation. So a lot of evaluation, a lot of prayer, and I'm starting to meditate a little bit to be able to manage some of this a little bit better. I'm ADHD, so my meditation is like 2.5 minutes. but I do see.
I gave you a hand to help with that.
Yes, but I do see. Yes, I am starting to see a difference though, and Ace is starting to do it as well. We've been working on a project that I'm happy to introduce in a very short time here, and it's actually my son and I, and it has to do with some of the experience here in Swanton. And it was just something I saw in him, and some of what he was expressing in terms of his feelings about things. So it was a way to take those icky feelings or nasty feelings, we'll say, if you're speaking to a child, and turn them into something positive. So I've seen this amazing change in him to where, if you see my son at a protest, you won't forget him. He'll have that megaphone. He's this tall, but he'll have that megaphone, and he'll be talking, and he's, unfortunately gotten that education that we knew he would have to have at a young age, and found some ways to help manage to be able to get us through things. So, Brother Washington, I didn't hear all of your question, but did that answer your question?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Anika. I want to ask Julian, because we talked about last year, we heard from Jody, but there was a couple of things that you left out. I wanted to know if you remember those things that you can.
Yeah. And as we're going through the year in review, right, one thing that I've tried to do is really focus on mental health, right, and given everything that I've been through, and use my experience to help others overcome whatever trauma they may have experienced. So one of those things is sometimes you have to revisit the past and some negative things that happen. So it's with two people. So on May 30th this year, it was with really three people. I was the only one that was the only one out of the group that hadn't been shot by the police. But Alex Krasinski, who was shot, who was a medic that was shot in the leg on May 30th. Saray Pratt, who had her leg broken by TPD on the 30th, and Victor Dale Jr., who had been shot in the neck and the shoulder by Oregon Police Department, a suburb of Toledo. We rewalked the path that majority of the marchers, and I do say the majority because there were provocateurs. We know this to be a fact now, that tried to take advantage of a chaotic situation. All right, and so one of the things we did is identify some of those moments when that happened. Right, we learned from our mistakes and our victories. Right, at what point did this happen? At what point? Obviously, we want to live in a world where police don't use an excessive force, but maybe what could have we done different? How could have we been more effective? And we went through and played. The Toledo actually did a really good job at the timeline of events and documenting that historic day, especially post March, right? 13 ABC did and we did a good job at documenting the rally. The Blade did an awesome job at documenting that post March. But so we reclaimed these spaces where harm had occurred, right? We do not have to let the traumatic events continue to thrive and live on in our minds. We can reclaim those spaces and places mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually, right? And so what we did on the 30th was reclaim those spaces and use that as an opportunity to demonstrate our strength. So where Alex was shot, I believe, on Cherry Street, we reclaimed that space and we dwelled there in unity and, looked at those scars and thought about how strong we've been to be able to walk that area now, right? Where Saray's leg was broken by TPD, right by the attic. I believe that's 17th and Adams Street, right? Where her ability to be able to walk was taken away by Toledo Police Department, right? Not only did we walk there, but there's a fence there that many artists use to display art. And we decided to, I don't have a problem saying this, vandalism charge, whatever. I put a Black Lives Matter sign sticker.
Sitting next to me.
The sticker, exactly. I took a page out of your book, Jody. I put a Black Lives Matter sticker on. We put a Black Lives Matter sticker near the top of the crosswalk, right? And we hung a Justice for Saray sign right there, right? And what we were talking about doing and continuing to talk about doing is for all of those, I went down to DC last year and spent some time on Black Lives Matter Drive, which goes up to the White House. And one of the most powerful things is when you walk up to there at I guess where it ends, which is right in front of the White House, there's all these signs from different protests that people left right there in that fence, and, I couldn't help but think of the parallels of how we could do that right here and how we don't have to wait. I'll be honest, I'm tired of waiting for institutions and people to do the right thing. It's time that we just do it, and so I don't know what we want to call Black Lives Matter Boulevard here, and I don't know if that's been decided yet. But one thing we can do is make space for our voices to be heard. So what we were thinking is anybody who's been done wrong and abused by TPD or anyone else, we put their sign right up there on that fence, and we put that on public notice for the community to see. And so it started with Saray, but we plan on doing that with some more people.
Okay.
So that not only do we not forget, but we make sure that that's well known.
Think of a couple names off the top of my head.
Absolutely.
Aaron
Okay.
Pope, JoJo.
Absolutely. And if they try to take those down, we put more up.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? To show it as kind of an ongoing visual symbol of our protest and of our steadfastness and perseverance, that we will not go away or diminish our call for justice.
All right. Look, we're going to take a short break. We're going to come back, close some loose ends, and we're going to be ready for Jody in 5 minutes.
So that's Adams and 17th Street. Adams and 17th Street. If you go there now, you should see Justice for Saray. And I encourage you, all of you, if you have zip ties or a sign, go ahead and put it up there.
Okay.
Yeah.
See a few of my stickers and some of our work. And we do have some loose ends to tie up because we all answered except Brother Washington.
Well, we're running out of time. After this, I feel like American Idol.
After the break.
Yeah, after the break. After the break. Yeah, absolutely. We'll do that. And then we'll shut it down with 5 minutes each. All right?
Yeah.
So, hey, look, stay tuned. This is CSRN, our weekly video minutes. This is our podcast. Come right back.
Do you care? Do you care? Your life matters to me. Does my life matter to you? If your life matters to you, wear the mask for me. It could save you. Your life matters to me. Does my life matter to you? If your life matters to you, wear the mask for me. It could save you. Your life matters to me. Does my life matter to you? If your life matters to you, wear the mask for me. It could save you. Your life matters to me. Does my life matter to you? If your life matters to you, wear the mask for me. It could save you. Fall back and check yourself. Fall back and check yourself. Fall back and check yourself. Fall back and check yourself.
All right, we're back. We're back. Hey, listen, we're on shutdown mode. We're gonna tighten up some loose ends. We've got 5 minutes of heat, and whatever, Julian, if there's something that you missed, and if there's something that Anika didn't say, we're gonna bring her back. But man, what were my thoughts on the way? One of the things about me, I love organizing, I love planning, and I love making something that was in Julian's mind or Jody's mind an actual thing. I remember Julian and someone talking about what's happening in other cities, and we hadn't done anything yet. All right. And some people were looking at us like, hey, what y'all gonna do? What you gonna do? All right. And one day I just felt, hey, it's time.
Yeah.
It's time. And we do our thing. One of the things that I love to do is reconnaissance. That means that if we have something at 2, I'm going to be there at 12. And we showed up a bit early, and there were some strange people already on the corner where we were set up. Now, nobody would know this because by the time everybody got there, they were gone. There were police that were already there. I don't know if they wanted to intimidate me. Some of the police officers were helpful. Some of them thought that, hey, look, this is not the day to do this. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. So my thought on the way there was I realized that I may not go home, but it's okay. I got to choose my way of how I'm going out. And if May 30th was it, then so be it. So that was my thought on the way down. And I'm always ready for whatever. Always, always. Um, my thought about the crowd. I love the crowd. I love the crowd. Everybody. I love just. I never thought we would get that type of crowd, but I loved it. When we started, there was twos and fews, and I was like, hey, look, I'm fine with if just 7 people show up. And I turned back around. Well, there's 11,000. I mean, there was 1,000 there. I love Julian. I love Jody. I love Ruth. You spoke everything that I felt. I know that I'm fearless in a lot of ways doing this type of work because I may not have the same fear indicators as other people my age. All right. I just don't, I don't care about what somebody else thinks of me. I know what I want to do. I know that is within the boundaries of righteousness and principle. So I'm not doing anything outside of me as a member of the Nation of Islam, me as a dad, me as a husband. Everything that I'm doing at CSRN fits within my life. And I love backing up Julian when he was talking. I'm not going to repeat the things that I said because I said after Ramadan, I'm going to stop cussing. All right. And damn it, I'm serious about that. I am. But man, when he was talking, I felt like I was talking using the best words that I could ever use. When Jody was presenting, he was using all of the best words, the best emotion, and also I want to shout out Bruce Randolph.
Yes.
I want to shout out Bruce Rudolph. Sometimes who you don't see at CSRN, lots of times we really don't cape our allies that much. All right. Our allies do what they do. All right. And we don't cape them that much. But for our allies of Alex, Bruce, Gina, Saray, there are others in allies in our community that really kick serious ass when it's time to step up for Black people. And these allies aren't on that takeover, not on that co-op stuff that some people that play activist theater, all right, do. They're not with that mess. And I love that. I love them. So all of the speakers and even some of the actors, even some of the bad actors, the universe used that for good. All right, because still people had to step up and take notice that there was something wrong in Toledo. There's something wrong at the root of law enforcement. And hey, that's what I thought about the crowd. That's what I was thinking on my way down. I think that way on my way here, to put up this podcast. And lastly, what did I do on Sunday? Sunday, I reflected. I put up a post with one of the most iconic pictures ever, taken by Cheryl Williams with Julian, Jody, Ruth, and myself. That's going to be a poster. All right. That's gonna. If it's the God, I'm gonna make that into something. That's a special picture. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Cheryl, for capturing that. If it weren't for you, that picture would be lost. All right, that picture will be lost. And I did some gardening over on May 30th, and it just let me know that, hey, look, there's more to do, but we got to be ready for the next. So stay healthy. We need you. All right. When it's time to cash it all in, you'll know. All right. But until then, stay healthy. Hey, listen, I want to top some loose ends. We've got Anika. I want to bring Anika back. Anika, we're about to shut it on down. I want to get some of your last thoughts. What's on your mind right now? Or what would you like everyone to know as we close out for today?
1 second, Anika. We can't hear you.
They muted.
Okay, is that better?
Now we got.
Can you hear me now? Testing.
Yep.
All right. Okay. Yeah, I was saying, what I would like everybody to know right now is that no matter if you think you don't have a voice or not, your experience is your experience, and your experience can speak. So just taking the opportunity to share your experience can not only help impact positive change, but you don't know who you might be able to bless or help just by speaking up. So don't be afraid to speak up. Fear is a tactic used by certain folks who are just so desperate at this point for power that they're reaching for every and anything they can. So speak up, speak up. Learn about your legislative process. Learn who your legislators are. Connect with your social justice organization. And, even if you can't go out and physically do a lot because of having responsibility in the home, there's other things you can do. There's phone calls, there's flyers, there's all types of things. So don't think that you don't have a voice and don't think that you have a place, because you do.
All right. Thank you, Anika. Julian, as we close out, this is where we tie up some loose ends. Was there something that?
Yeah, there's some things that have to be mentioned. Shame on Lucas County Sheriff's Department again for the failing to address any type of accountability for what happened at Walmart here. In addition to that, man was raped in the Lucas County jail, and there's been a lack of when people are incarcerated, we're trusting the state essentially for their care, and when that happens, there's a burden of responsibility that is on the state. I also say that to say if there is a time when a man is most likely to be raped, it is while incarcerated. This is something that isn't talked about very much or very often, but it is a huge issue. And when we talk about reform or making sure that we're safe, that's something that often gets swept under the rug due to shame, and that has to stop happening. All right. In talking of riots and things like that, we have to remember that there's, it's never been more clear than now that there are two different Americas, and one riot is okay and one riot is not. Right. When I think about the January 6th riot at the Capitol building and the complete lack of accountability, shame on those Republican senators that failed to vote for an investigation on just what happened. That's crazy. If somebody comes in with a gun in my workplace, no matter how much I don't like that workplace, I'm gonna want to know what happened.
Seems like
how to stop that again.
Had too much to lose.
Yeah, a lot of them obviously had something to do with it. That's plain to see. I have to commemorate the strength of those commemorating the 100-year anniversary of the Tulsa massacre that happened and the destruction of Black Wall Street. There are people that experienced that are still alive from 1921 till today, and some of them testified in Congress. Well, we're not playing that video today. I highly encourage you to look at that footage. Very rarely do you get an opportunity to hear someone 106 years old that experienced something so tragic speak truth to power on such a large platform. So I encourage you to take a look at that. And then we must also remember this is the beginning of Pride Month. Shout out to our LGBTQ brothers and sisters. And we must remember that Pride Month started with Black people and what was a riot against police misconduct and police violence. right? So when we celebrate Pride, we celebrate Marsha P. Johnson. We celebrate members of the LGBTQ community that stand up, that are often disproportionately targeted and attacked by members of law enforcement. And we realize that that is where Pride Month comes from. That is a part of our struggle. It's not in competition with this struggle. It is a part of this struggle. So I just wanted to commemorate that as well.
Okay.
I pass.
All right. Jody, at this part, man, we don't close out with a gavel. Hey, we do have a stick, but we don't close out with a gavel. Or we put our own season, we bring soul to everything. And I was telling Jody earlier, were it not for us, there would be no pride. There would be no pride. So don't look at it as some type of corporate sponsored parade. All right, they could do the same thing to Black Lives Matter. All right, and make it a hallmark celebration. But it's not going down like that, at least not for CSRN. All right. So Jody, before I get on my, I want to get on my
Good.
all right.
So also, as one of my duties of treasurer, is just to remind you guys that there are many ways to help the movement. You don't have to show up to a protest, a demonstration, a meeting, a Zoom call, or something like that. Sometimes you don't even have to give a donation. Sometimes just purchase something that helps the movement along. And with that, we have yard signs. We'll pass them down to Brother Washington through Julian, so everybody gets a chance to touch the sign. Oh, he's on the shop too. So we got our yard signs. Brother Washington, go on page, so you probably can't hear me right now.
No, it's not full page. We still got you right here. See that right there? There you go.
So we got our yard signs and stuff that you can purchase. Of course, there's always organizations, mental health and stuff that we want to talk about. I know that was backwards for y'all.
That's all right.
That's what we got
There you go. Look at that.
Things that we are still doing in the community, and the fight still continues on. Remember, our airport, we still got that landfill that's trying to take away some usable farmland, since we have more and more grocery stores and places to eat closing every day. Usable farmland is something we need, not another landfill. Through us, you can get wristbands, you can get stickers, you can get keychains, water bottles, T-shirts. Not this shirt that I'm wearing or any of us is wearing, but it's on our website. Brother Washington, I think he's scrolling, so y'all can see all of that good stuff. And if you want to make a donation, you're welcome to. You can contact us on PayPal, on Cash App, and
Right, it's CSRN 419 Cash App, CSRN 419 PayPal.
or in person. Again, I may be the treasurer, but we are all acting members of this organization or movement. So it's not like if you give Julian some money, he's not going to pass it along, because he's not trying to buy himself a suit, a jet, take people out just to show that they did some stuff. We are actually giving back to our community. That is what kind of we do. Nobody here gets paid for this. Nobody here makes this sacrifice so they can be on social media with this camera in front of their face screaming about things that they haven't dealt with in their own life. So 5 minutes of heat. If you tuned in last week, again,
I thought that was 5 minutes of heat.
5 minutes of heat, right.
Start snapping. Yeah. All right.
So
we get 10 minutes of heat today. All right.
5 minutes of heat. Last week we started part one. In April, I do 30 days of writing and just some of the freestyles and stuff, because I am not trained and I did not go to school for any of this. Being an author, being an elected official, being an illustrator, being a community organizer, or holding 3 executive boards. Nothing in school taught me for this. This was lived through life. This was lived through my experience. And I also try and keep my brand and companies to that, where you could find lost and found items and get them life. So here's the last 2 poems from April. This is one. They're short, so that's why I don't need my tongue ring out.
Oh,
or anything
okay.
like
I
that.
got you. I see what you did there.
So let's begin. Peace. It doesn't have a title yet. So I told myself to stop for a moment and take in the life that I've lived. Stop worrying about the ifs, whens, or how, and just breathe. Yes, breathe for a moment. Stop worrying about who will miss you when you're gone and live for today. Stop worrying about the achievements of others and realize you made it to today. You embody the living memory of your ancestors, the pure resilience of their DNA that resides in you and your offspring. History will remember you because of the decisions you make today. In a moment, even a fraction of a second, it could be gone, and it will be written by those you impacted today. Every single life, every single species is unique and deserves to be respected for their beautiful identities that is individual to the experience of life they live. Today is your day, and you won't get a second shot at it. So don't take for granted the miracle that you have at experiencing it. Don't dwell on the things you cannot change, but manifest the things you want to see become reality, even if it is not in your lifetime. Find yourself a purpose that will not drown you in sorrow, stricken you with fear, or stunt your growth. There is only one you. You have the ability to give yourself that moment today. In peace.
All right.
And the last one, again, they're somewhat quick, kind of, but
It's
the
all
last
good.
one is more of a freestyle, and I hope it reaches you guys because, again, my life has changed from 10 years ago, sitting on a park bench with nothing but lint in my pocket, dealing with the traumas of my mother being murdered by a serial killer and foster care, and not being able to hold someone who shares my DNA. Dealt with a lot, but I smile. This is one of the reasons why. No title, just a freestyle. Hey, what changed? You just became happy all the time. Can you rub some of that off on me? I stopped searching for happiness. I stopped doubting myself. But it doesn't mean I don't feel fear every time I step into a new room. Fear of failing again. Fear that I won't believe in myself enough and take someone else's advice who has never even tried what they're telling me. I stopped letting myself down. Every time I gave another person power to create my reality, I figured out I was dimming my own life. I stopped giving power to everything else that was trying to pull me in multiple directions, whether it be religion, politics, family, lovers, jobs, careers, deadlines, degrees, certificates. They were all trying to mold me into this vision that they saw as acceptable. I learned that even if I fail, no matter how horrible or how public the situation might be, I had to get back up. No one was going to clothe me, feed me, house me, teach me, do the things I once viewed as impossible. I've cried tears of oceans by myself. And at the end of those torrents of liquid that fell from my face, the reflection showed me I can do better. So yes, I'm happy. And the loud of that you see is the smile. And if all of that, so yes, I'm happy. And a lot of that, and if all you see is my smile and not the reconstruction I had to be doing to stand here in front of you today, then I know tomorrow will be much better. In peace.
Thank you, Jody. And look, well, we didn't give a shout out to everybody in our inbox,
In the chat, Joe
in the
Dewey,
chat.
and of course Nika.
Oh
Who's that
man,
person? The one person that was in there that gave us the thing about the sundown.
right. So thank you, everybody that was in the chat. Hey, listen, we're here every week. Hey, let's bring Anika back in so we can close out with the pledge. You ready?
Yeah, thank you for everybody who's ever came and participated. And yeah, let's close out, y'all.
All right.
I
I,
say
Brother
Jody.
Washington,
Nika,
pledge to strive,
pledge to
let's
strive
just strive.
to love my brothers and my sisters
to love my
Love
brothers
my
and my
brothers and my sisters.
as I love myself.
as I love
I
myself.
love myself. I,
Say your name.
Brother
Jay
Washington,
Summers.
Pledge to strive
pledge to
pledge
strive
to strive
to improve myself
to improve
to improve myself
spiritually,
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 mentally,
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 morally,
morally,
and physically
and
and
physically
physically
for the benefit of myself,
for the benefit of
for the
myself,
benefit of myself,
my family,
my
my
family,
my
and
family,
my people.
and my people.
I
I,
say your name.
child
Brother
of the
Washington.
system.
Nika,
Pledge to strive
Pledge to
pledge
strive
to strive
to be a part of the solution,
to be
to be
a
a
part
be
of
a
the
part
solution.
of the solution,
the process,
The
the
process
the
process,
process,
and not the problem.
and not the
and
problem.
not the problem.
I
I,
I,
say your name.
Spoken
Brother
truth.
Washington,
Nika,
Pledge to strive
pledge to
pledge
strive
to strive
to give all that I can spare
to
to
give
give
to
all
give all that I can spare
of my time,
of my
of my
time,
time,
my strength,
my
my
strength
strength,
and my energy
and
and my energy
to achieve
to
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 achieve
achieve
the above said.
the above
the
said.
above said.
Now give yourself
Great
a round
job,
of applause.
everybody. Great job. Thank you so much. Anika,
Awesome,
defund the
awesome.
police. You already know what it is. Black Lives Matter. And
We
as
already
always,
know.
all lives can't matter until
Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter.
And Black lives can't matter until
So
All
all
Black Lives
Black
Matter.
Lives matter.
Justice or else.
Peace. All right. Man, great job. Great job. Thank you, Anika.
Thank you guys.